Welcome to another edition of Dad's Divorce Live. I'm Sean Garrison, your host and editor of DadsDivorce.com. Today we're joined by Terry Brennan. Terry is the co-founder of the Leading Women for Shared Parenting organization and is also active in the coalition to create a White House Council on Boys and Men, which is what he'll be talking to us today about. Thank you for joining us today, Terry.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Can you start by telling us about the Council on Boys and Men? Why is this necessary, and what are the key issues that it hopes to address?
Sure. So the White House Council for Boys and Men was a proposal that actually came out of the creation of a White House Council for Girls and Women, which was put in place in 2009. And when that commission was put in place, there were some, including Dr. Warren Farrell, who felt that the White House and all of the secretaries should be looking out for the whole family, and that boys had issues specific to their needs as well. We have identified 5 different areas that we feel are at a crisis level for boys and men, including education, emotional health, physical health, father involvement, and work. So that commission was assembled. It's 33 separate commissioners. There are some very prominent individuals on the commission. We've got 2-term Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm. We have John Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. We have Michael Gurian from the Gurian Institute, and so on. And these 33 commissioners went forth and put together a recommendation as to how the creation of a White House Council for Boys and Men could help the American family. And so that's what we're promoting.
Absolutely. And in terms of garnering success, how much headway have you guys been able to make with this?
Well, it's been an interesting ride. So we have come to the conclusion that the creation of a White House Council for Boys and Men is not going to be supported by this White House. That being said, there are a number of congressmen who are very supportive of the creation of such, because they realize that these areas that I talked about, education, emotional health, physical health, father involvement, and work, are having a significant impact not just on boys and men, but on our whole society. We are in an area today where phrases like the boy crisis have actually been involved in our language now, and people know what that means. Unfortunately, we are in a generation where this is going to be the first generation of boys who are less educated than their fathers. And boys are expelled more often, drop out more often. They are used to be 61% of college graduates. That's projected to go down to 39%. And none of this leads to good places for the American family. We get a lot of calls and actually a lot of outreach from mothers of sons because they are concerned. In the area of physical health, the difference in the suicide rate as boys grow and mature starts to become rather dramatic. It starts out as even with girls, but by the time they reach the ages of 20 to 24, the suicide rate for boys and young men is actually 5 times that of young girls. In the area of father involvement, 1 out of every 3 American children now lives in a father-absent home. And we know that there's a long litany of social problems associated with those children, that they go through both physical, social, emotional, all kinds of problems. And we now know that that's actually caused by, rather than correlated with, father absence. Amongst physical health, men and boys die earlier of 9 of the 10 leading causes of death. So we think that there ought to be more spending on understanding why that is. Because the life expectancy gap between men and women, although it used to be only 1 year in the 1920s, it's now grown to over 5 years. And so part of what we're asking for is for mothers of sons to look down at their little boys and start asking the question, why should my son live 5 years less than my daughter? And things of that nature. And we're actually starting to see significant change. We've got now a prominent women's group who's involved with the White House Council for Boys and Men. And most recently, we went to Iowa and were able to meet with almost all of the Republican candidates for president. And we're actually hosting our own event and inviting all of the candidates on July 20th, again in Iowa.
Absolutely. And what should someone do if they're interested in supporting this proposal?
Well, you can go to our website, which is www.whitehouseboysmen.org. That's www.whitehouseboysmen.org. And I guess there's three things that I would ask you to do while you're there. First of all, prominently displayed is a donation button. We do have access to a 501c3, so it's a tax-deductible donation. And we need money to build the grassroots support that we need in order to make this move along. Again, to pay for our event in Iowa, we're very thankful. I can proudly announce we just got a $10,000 donation from John Mackey, who's the CEO of Whole Foods. And we're looking to other organizations to match that kind of a pledge so that we can pay for our event in Iowa and do a better job of getting our word out about the issues facing boys and men.
Sure. And is there anything else you'd like to add, Terry?
Yeah, quickly, this is a cultural issue that needs to be addressed. And while cultures usually change rather slowly, you're seeing a huge cultural change take place rather rapidly now. If you take a look, for example, in advertising, it was about a year ago that Lowe's put out a commercial that really portrayed fathers in a very negative light. Yet you take a look at what happened in the Super Bowl, and they were talking about dadvertising, was the nickname, with companies like Unilever and Procter & Gamble and Toyota and others putting forth some very wholesome images, more reflective of what fatherhood is really about today. So I think that that change is happening rather rapidly. The other thing that I'd say is sometimes there's people who believe that if we're pushing ahead and trying to create a better world for boys, that comes at the expense of girls and women. And when I talk with people, most people, the vast majority of people, realize that this is not a gender issue. We are too intermingled as a society. I mentioned before the importance of mothers of sons. There are so many mothers of sons, grandmothers of grandsons. Everybody's got a husband or wife. Everybody's got brothers or sisters. So this isn't a matter of one gender versus the other. It's all of us actually pushing forward and trying to make a better world for everyone.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Terry. We really enjoyed having you here on Dad's Divorce Live.
Thanks very much, Sean.
That was Terry Brennan of the Coalition to Create a White House Council on Boys and Men. To read more about how to support the White House Council on Boys and Men, make sure to visit the links below. That'll do it for another edition of Dad's Divorce Live. I'm Sean Garrison, editor of DadsDivorce.com.